Have you ever imagined that on your own birthday, instead of warm wishes, you'd receive a well-orchestrated betrayal? A baby onesie that says "Best Grandma Ever," a gift that seems cute at first, but turns out to be a silent declaration of a takeover. And then, at a dinner table bathed in soft golden light, with clinking glasses and cheerful laughter, a mother suddenly realizes the home she's been living in might no longer be hers. It all began like any ordinary evening. But those very moments of ordinary were the perfect disguise for a cold, calculated plan, disguised under the sacred name of family. So what happened to Mary, a 61-year-old single mother who spent her entire life sacrificing for her child? And how did a woman, seemingly fragile, turn herself into a quiet warrior, turning the game around in a battle designed by her own flesh and blood? Let's follow her story, a bitter yet deeply inspiring journey about awakening, resilience, and a bold escape that unfolds like a movie. Mary never expected much for her 61st birthday. A simple dinner in the apartment she had lived in for over 30 years. A few familiar dishes, a glass of red wine, and maybe a late-night call from her granddaughter Melissa. She was always content with little things. But this time, her only son, Daniel, insisted on throwing her a cozy party at an upscale city restaurant. Brick walls, twinkling Instagrammable lights, loud music. It was all so unlike Mary. But she nodded, like she always did. She sat there among more strangers than friends, trying to smile as Ashley, Daniel's wife, presented a birthday gift, a white baby onesie that read, "Best Grandma Ever." Applause. Laughter. Cheer. Mary smiled too, but deep inside was a strange, uneasy feeling. Not because she was going to be a grandmother, but because of Daniel's gaze, cold, calculated. Then he stood up, raised his glass, as if reading from a script. "We've been thinking a lot about the future. And everything makes sense now. Mom already agreed, so we're moving into her apartment. It'll be easier to take care of her and prepare for the baby." More applause. Some turned to Mary, waiting for her reaction. She smiled awkwardly. Her eyes shifted between confusion and shock. Agreed? When? A faint memory surfaced, a quick chat weeks ago when Daniel mentioned maybe staying for a short while if needed. But never a decision. Never a promise. Mary felt like a statue among the crowd, trapped in a play she had never rehearsed. Her voice swallowed by the noise. She nodded, not to agree but out of instinct. A mother's reflex to not embarrass her child in front of others. Inside her, a storm began to rise. Why was Daniel so certain? Why had Ashley been filming the whole evening? And why did she feel afraid? That night, walking home slowly under the city's glittering lights, her apartment, once a warm nest, now felt like a door quietly opening to a painful truth. When silence filled the night and the world slept, Mary reopened an old file drawer. Her hands trembled as she pulled out a stack of papers Daniel had brought her one night when she had pneumonia, too tired to read. And in that moment, she discovered something that froze her soul more than anything. Mary couldn't sleep. Streetlights cast shadows of trees onto the ceiling like cracks spreading into every quiet corner of her heart. Her once cozy apartment now felt unfamiliar, like it no longer belonged to her. She walked through the living room where her husband used to laugh on weekends. Her hand brushed the bookshelf he built with calloused hands. Every corner held memories. But tonight, they offered no comfort, only evidence of loss. Mary sat in her old wooden chair, hands clasped tightly. A terrible doubt crept in. Why had Daniel spoken with such certainty? As if everything was already in place. Then it hit her. That night in the hospital when he handed her a stack of documents saying, "Just some insurance forms, Mom. I need your signature to take care of things while you're recovering." She had trusted him. She signed. Now, she opened that same drawer again. Rummaging through faded paperwork, her hands finally found a thin file with a pale blue cover. Power of attorney. She didn't need to read it all. She understood. She had unknowingly given Daniel control over her assets, accounts, even medical decisions if deemed mentally unfit. Mary sat motionless for hours. No tears. Just a crushing weight in her chest. She hadn't just been tricked, she'd been taken advantage of at her weakest. She clutched the documents tightly. No more doubt. This was proof. She picked up her phone and searched for Mrs. Evans, her old lawyer who once helped after her husband passed. A.M. Mary. I need to see you. First thing tomorrow. Then, for the first time in years, she locked her bedroom door from the inside. The next morning, gentle rain fell. Mary sat by the window, dark circles under her eyes, holding a steaming cup of tea. Her phone buzzed. Ashley had posted a video. Inside Mary's apartment. Soft background music. Caption. A new beginning for our family, saying goodbye to Grandma's house. Hundreds of comments. Praise. Admiration. Everyone believed Mary had given everything out of love. Mary laughed, not out of joy, but because she now understood. This wasn't just legal manipulation, it was a full-on narrative hijacking. Another message came from Melissa. Auntie. You need to see this. It was a Reels video from Ashley's Instagram filmed on Mary's birthday. The living room shown in cinematic angles. Sweet piano music. Floating text. A new beginning for our little family. Goodbye, Grandma's nest. Mary froze. The room she once shared with her husband now turned into content. Aesthetic. Entertainment. Comments flooded in. Heartwarming. So lucky to have a mother-in-law like this. Wish mine was this generous. No one knew the truth. No one asked her. Then, an email from Daniel arrived. Subject. Transition plan. Attached, a schedule for home transfer. A list of movers and a Pinterest board labeled Neutral Nursery. Her bedroom. Now a baby's room. Painted white. Wooden crib. Linen curtains. All ready except for one thing, her consent. That morning, Mary walked into Evans and Associates Law. Mrs. Evans, sharp-eyed beneath silver hair, quickly understood. She read through the documents and nodded solemnly. I'm afraid this power of attorney can easily be abused. Especially if they have a doctor's note claiming early signs of mental decline. Mary blinked. You mean they could declare I'm not in my right mind? I've seen it before, Mary. Children, spouses, even friends. First step, revoke this POA. From now on, all legal matters go through me. Nothing gets signed without my approval. Mary grasped the lawyer's hand, not just in thanks, but like holding onto the last thread of clarity in a fog of betrayal. On the way home, Mary didn't feel the rain anymore. Just clarity and resolve. And so began the counter-plan. Mary became watchful, quiet, but strategic. On the outside, she acted the same, liking Ashley's posts, smiling at Daniel when he dropped off pastries. But inside, she was building walls. She changed banking passwords. Froze backup credit cards. Logged every message, every call. Her notebook was no longer a diary, it was a weapon. One morning, the gate lock jammed. Coincidence? Or sabotage? Her mind returned to an old urgent loan Daniel once begged for IVF, he said. She never saw that money again. That evening, Daniel slipped an envelope under her door. No call. No knock. Inside. Preliminary transfer agreement pending bank approval. Legalese. Cold. No gratitude. And buried in the details, they had used her apartment as collateral. Mary read it, sighed but didn't tremble. She stood, went to the cabinet, and pulled another paper. Signed years ago. Also during her hospital stay. Saturday afternoon, Ashley appeared, 2 coffees in hand, and a bottle of pink prenatal vitamins. I have good news. I think it's finally happening. She smiled sweetly, hand on her belly. Mary looked at her. Then at the fizzy drink Ashley had just taken, a sip of the kind doctors warn pregnant women to avoid. Polite smile. Suspicion growing. Ashley went on dreaming aloud about the nursery, the warmth of a new family life. In Grandma's house. Her words flowed like a practice script. When she left, Mary noticed Ashley had forgotten to close her purse. A brief glance, just a peek intuition, maybe. Inside. Interior redesign plans for Mary's apartment. Replace kitchen. New flooring. A Zillow printout, top market price circled in red. A list of suggested deposit amounts. If selling quickly. They weren't moving in. They were flipping it. Mary didn't rage. Didn't confront. She folded the documents back, brewed a cup of tea, and wrote in her notebook. Ashley, June 18th, possibly faking pregnancy. Objective: emotional manipulation to secure property takeover. Need to verify OB visit. That night, Mary didn't sleep, not out of fear, but focus. The puzzle pieces came together. The stairs. The sweet words. The nursery. The video. The purse. They didn't just want to move in. They wanted to erase her. She called Iris. Iris, her longtime friend, a retired realtor, listened in silence. Then calmly said, "You don't need to fight to keep that apartment, Mary. You need a fresh start. Somewhere they can't find you." The quiet exit plan was born. A small cabin, tucked near a forest in another state. Peaceful. Anonymous. The apartment sale was handled quietly, through Iris's private network. No listings. No ads. Just closed circles. Mary asked Frank, a quiet church friend, to help pack. He nodded, said, "Whatever you need. No questions." Each important item was boxed. The rest labeled. Charity. Utilities were scheduled to disconnect one day after her departure. Mail forwarded with a 10-day delay. She left signs she hadn't gone, a half-packed suitcase, casual texts. Liked Ashley's latest Instagram story. A day before leaving, Mary stood in her empty apartment, no sofa, no photos. Just fading sunlight across old wooden floors. She smiled gently. "Thank you for being home until the very end." Monday, 7:45 a.m. Daniel arrived, flowers in hand, stack of papers. Smile strained. Key in lock. It didn't turn. He knocked. Then shouted, "Mom? We just want to talk." No answer. He shoved a thick envelope through the door. Inside, legal demands, requests for cognitive evaluation of the property owner. Threats. Wrapped in paperwork. Later, Ashley came, no flowers this time. Just tears. Phone in hand. "You promised us a home for our baby." She filmed herself crying in the hallway. Mary, by then, was far away. At peace. Beyond the lens. Beyond their act. Soon after, the video went viral. "When your mother-in-law locks out her grandchild, my heart is broken." Sad piano music. Cinematic shots. The comments poured in. "So cruel. Selfish old woman. She must have dementia. She sold her house to run from her family. Disgusting." Mary sipped her tea in the cabin, phone glowing with a message from Mrs. Evans. "Let them scream. Legally you've won." Weeks passed. Then one day, a large envelope arrived from her lawyer. Inside, confirmation. The apartment was sold. The funds safely placed in a new trust Mary had created, the Quiet Exit Fund. The second document, her new will, stamped and sealed. Mary Louise Hargrove, of sound mind and free will, hereby declare this my legal last testament. Daniel and Ashley's names were nowhere to be found. No anger. No revenge. Just a decision. Silent, but final. Every remaining asset, home, savings, insurance, was transferred into the Quiet Exit Fund, created to support elderly women who've been financially or emotionally exploited by loved ones. Because no one should be forced to flee their own home. The first line of the charter. Mary wasn't joyous. Just at peace. She began to write her journey. Local women visited her. Listened quietly. Their eyes softened like they found strength in her silence. Months passed. Spring arrived early. Lavender swayed in the breeze. Birds sang outside her window. One morning, a letter came from Melissa, her observant, gentle niece. Inside, a photo of a newborn. Swaddled, sleeping. If she grows up to be even half as strong as you, I'll have done my job as a mother. Mary placed the letter in her lap. A tear slid down a wrinkled cheek. Quiet. Peaceful. That evening, Claire came by. They played chess. Mary lost again. I don't need to win. She smiled. Just to be here. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mary looked at it. Then turned it off. For the first time without hesitation. Mary's story isn't extraordinary. She didn't scream. She didn't demand justice. She didn't rebel. She simply withdrew. But with complete control. And sometimes that is the greatest power a person can have. Have you ever thought that silence could be the loudest voice? That maybe real love begins with learning to love yourself first? If this story touched you, share it. Somewhere out there, another woman may be searching for her own quiet exit.